Hi, this is Cristina.
And Carmen.
And this is another episode of Spooky Tales, a podcast for all things spooky, haunted places, myths, legends in Latin America, and true crime involving Latin America or Latinos, Latinas in the U.S.
Okay.
I've been practicing that.
I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mentioned both because we're doing both today. Carmen has legends from Baja California.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've got a true crime case that I just feel that I heard about it and it needs more awareness. It involves a Mexican woman who was literally only in the United States for 18 days before she went missing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Elizabeth Salgado was her name. And before we get into both of those things, we have a listener story. And finally, I went into the haunted spooky hotline. Haunted hotline. I don't call it that. I think I just call it the spooky hotline.
Yeah. She went into the haunted archives.
Yes.
And pulled this out of the drawer.
That sounds better, actually. That's what I did. And so we're going to listen to the story today. And I absolutely, even though I forget, like I neglect the hotlines a lot. I love hearing people tell, their story in their own voice. Yeah. It's fun. So there's a few sitting here. So I'm going to try and do this,
Just remember to delete the ones you've already played.
Before all that, if you have a story that you want to send into the podcast, you can email spookytales@gmail.com. You can DM us on any of the socials. You can submit it on Discord. You could also record a voice memo and attach it via email. That's one way. Or again, call the spooky hotline number in the show notes. And there's also a thing on our website that says record a voicemail, but for some reason people it never works. I don't know. I get messages and it's like, I tried to leave a voicemail and it's not working. So I don't know. I got to figure out what's going on with that. Because when you go to the website, there's an option that says that, but it never works. So I don't know. But those are all the options. There's several ways to get stories to us. We love receiving them. And all right, are we ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, so I just heard your podcast of the demon sister. Oh my gosh, and it reminded me of something that happened to me. And so I live in North Carolina, and I live with my mom, my dad, my nephew, right? And my nephew is like a year older than me. And one night, he came to my room, and I swear it was him, and he just stood in the corner and was grabbing at his face like he was in pain and just crying. And he was saying, why do you hate me so much? Why don't you love me? And then I was to get my mom to come get him, to see what's going on. And I passed by his room, and he was asleep in his room, in his bed. So then I go tell my mom anyway. And then my mom walks me to my room, right? And then my room is on the end of the trailer, and his room is in the middle of the trailer. So my mom, her room is all the way on the other side. So she walks me to my room, and then I go to lay down, right? Everybody goes to sleep. And then my nephew comes to my room. He actually does come to my room, and he's crying, and he's screaming, and he's running off the wall, acting crazy. And then he goes to the living room, and he's just crying and pulling at his face. I go to my mom, and my mom comes in there, and she's just pull my arm. And he's just crying and screaming and talking about the devil and all this crazy stuff. And it was so, terrifying. Oh, my gosh, it's just scaring me now thinking about that because it was so real to me. And my mom had to call the local pastor, our father. We had just gotten him, so I don't really know him much like that. It was the scariest night of my life. He was just, crawling all creepy and everything, that's how I know the other side is real. Something, is more than us out here. And, oh my gosh, just the listener story really got to me. But anyways, the father had to come to the house, and he blessed him. He blessed the house. He poured holy water on him. He gave him a rosary and everything. And for the next year, we went to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. It was just I don't know what it was. It was.
Okay, it got cut off.
Wow.
At the very end there. But, yeah. Oh my God.
That's terrifying.
Very. If anyone doesn't remember the story she was referring to, Chata, one of our listeners and Patreon members, sent in another voice memo where she mentioned that her sister was like attacking her, right?
Yeah.
So like in a weird situation, not just like attacking her. Like she was like,
Not a regular attack.
yeah, it's like she was having sleep paralysis, and in her sleep paralysis moment, she was seeing like a demon, right? And then when she woke up, it was her sister on top of her, like kicking her or some shit like that. So that was the listener story that this listener was referring to. And oh my god, that is very scary.
Truly terrifying. Yeah.
It's so much worse that she saw it happen before it happened. Like the nephew was in her room, right? But then she passed by and he was asleep, but then it happened in the living room.
Kind of like telling the future a little bit.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Very creepy. Thank you so much for sending that in. Yeah, I'm scared.
Yeah. Okay. Shall I get to the legends from Baja California and Baja California Sur?
Let's do it.
Okay. Now we'll get to those, but before the spooky, a little bit of facts, a little bit of history of the region.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay,
Perfect.
so Baja California is the 12th largest state by area in Mexico, and it is the northernmost and westernmost of the Mexican states. So yeah, like the way I explained it to myself is it's the first state on the western coast that borders Arizona and California. Like, do you get it?
Yes.
Okay. And as most probably know, Tijuana is the largest city in Baja California, but Mexicali is the capital. I actually didn't know what the capital was.
No, me neither.
Did I think it was Tijuana? Yes.
Who didn't, honestly?
Right?
Unless you're from there.
Right. Other major and well-known cities in Baja California are Ensenada and Rosarito, or Rosarito.
Right.
Rosarito.
Stop.
That was the last one. I was literally about to stop. Pre-colonization, Baja California was inhabited by indigenous groups who spoke the Yuman language of the Hokan linguistic family. And of course, I'm sorry for any mispronunciations. This included the Kiliwa, Pai, Kumeyai, and Gogopa tongues.
Okay.
Those are the main ones, but there's more. So the Papai Indians, aka the Aquala, they're also known as that, lived in the northern Sierras, which is modern day Ensenada and Mexicali, and also in the U.S. in western Arizona and Southern California. Because borders are fake.
They're made up and recent. Yeah.
Exactly. So the Kumeyai people resided in the coastal inland valley and in the mountain regions of Baja California, which is present-day Escondido, and then also in San Diego, again, because the borders are made up. So the Spaniards also referred to and I feel like I already wrote it differently, but what did I say? Kumai, I don't know. People as the Digueno or Digueno, I'm not sure. But the Spaniards made that up, so who cares what they think? Yeah. The Kumai people were hunters, gatherers, and fishers. And the Cochimi, did I even bring up the Cochimi already? Well, they were also from this region. But the Cochimi people inhabited the central area of Baja California Peninsula from north of modern-day Rosario to Loreto. And they sustained themselves by fishing in the coastal areas and gathering fruits and seeds from other areas. And of course, there's a lot more, history there and culture there that we're not going to, get to.
Right.
In 1596, King Felipe II of Spain ordered the colonization of this area of the Baja California Peninsula. And 6 years later, Sebastián Vizcaíno made his way to the region, where he was met with fierce resistance.
Good.
Exactly. And while Sebastián managed to build a fort in La Paz, the fort had to be abandoned due to indigenous resistance.
Good.
And then in 1683, Admiral Isidro Atondo and Antillon, and this is what it said. So I don't know if this is both last names or if these are two separate people, because it was separated.
No, it's probably two last names.
But so if it was two last names, why didn't they just say Admiral Isidro Atondo Antillon instead of putting and?
It was a thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is one person then.
Yes.
So this person, Isidro, he established a settlement in modern-day La Paz, but again, the Spaniards were forced to abandon their establishment.
I'm loving all this forceful abandonment of their settlements.
Yes, yeah. And then another settlement that the Spaniards were forced to abandon was in modern-day San Bruno. Then in 1697, Jesuit missionaries arrived to the area, to colonize some more and spread/force their religion onto the indigenous people of the area. So many indigenous people lost their lives in the rancherias and the missions that were established by the Spaniards, many from infectious diseases like smallpox, typhus, and measles. And the deadliest epidemic was the typhus epidemic from 1742 to 1744, which is said to have taken the lives of about 8,000 indigenous people.
Oh my God.
In the decades that followed, many bands and indigenous groups were completely eradicated, while others like the Periku, Guaycura, and Cochimí struggled and resisted against their ongoing colonization. From 1734 to 1744, there were various bouts of indigenous rebellion, the strongest of these being from 1734 to 1737, in which the Periku and the Guaycura people took over many of the missions in the southern part of the peninsula.
I love this. This is the kind of missionary history that I would have preferred to learn about.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of being forced to go on field trips to learn about these fathers and priests that I do not
fuck
care
these
about.
People. Tell me who fucked them.
Yeah. Tell me who was
beat
throwing
their
hands.
asses.
Yeah. Seriously.
That's what I want to know. By 1895, according to the census of that year, around 2,150 people spoke indigenous languages in Baja California. But by the 1900 census, that number dropped to 1,111 and then to 711 in 1910.
Oh my God.
And then from what I saw, these census from 1900 and 1910 included all of Mexico, not just Baja California Peninsula. So today, most of the indigenous languages spoken in the Baja Peninsula are not historically local to the region and are brought from migrant workers from Oaxaca mostly. So yeah, that was a little bit of the history of the region. Let's see. In a previous episode, you've already talked about one major legend of Baja California, which was the Haunted Roads episode. Haunted Roads in Mexico episode.
We talk about La Rumorosa, right?
Yes, La Rumorosa. So, and then I looked through the episodes and the website, and I didn't see that you had covered the Aguascalientes Casino and Hotel, but I kind of remember you talking about it. Does that sound familiar to you?
Oh, is it the headless ballerina?
No, it's just similar then. It's just very similar then. I remember the headless ballerina. Okay, this is very short because I really couldn't find that much info about it.
I'm excited.
But basically, this Aguascalientes Casino and Hotel is in Tijuana, and it's now a high school, right? Isn't that the same as the other one?
Wow. Okay. So this is sounding very familiar, but you're sure that this doesn't have a headless woman?
Yeah.
Who may or may not dance?
Right. I mean, I didn't see more about that.
Okay.
There could be, there could be more details to it, I guess, that I didn't find.
Well, let's just hear it because that was a very early episode anyway.
So this was in the 1930s. When the building was a hotel. A woman who sang for the hotel poisoned her lover after stealing money from him, but it didn't kill him immediately. So when he chased her down, desperately asking for the antidote, she refused to give it to him, and then he shot her and killed her. So now students from the high school report seeing a woman's ghost, but not the lover's ghost.
Okay, so the version we shared is insanely similar to this, but instead of being a singer, it's a dancer.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And she does kill her husband.
By poison?
Yes. But people see her in one of the high school's like towers.
Oh.
And she's headless.
Okay. There was nothing headless I saw from this one.
Okay. Very interesting. Because, this is almost the same.
Mm-hmm. And then I saw a legend, but not more detail, which kind of like I was looking. I even found an article about Jesuit missions.
You're like going to Google Scholar?
Yes, I was. I even asked my librarian friend for access to it, and I was able to get the full article, but it was not spookiness. It was just mission history, which I was like, blah. Okay, so there's this legend of the lost mission of San Dionisio.
This sounds fascinating.
Well, don't get too excited because it's so short.
Okay.
It is said that a Jesuit mission / colonization station. That was me. Sorry.
Did you just make that up?
No, I made it up when I was typing it. So it's in my notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love it. Wow.
So it is said that a Jesuit mission named San Dionisio was once located near the town of La Paz. Somehow the mission disappeared and only cryptic symbols on the rocks have been left in its place. And that's all I could find about it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Please, if anyone knows more about this.
Lost submission of San Dionisio. Please tell us.
Seriously. Wow. Okay. I've never heard this. I love coming across legends that I've never heard about. Because at this point, this deep in the podcast, there's like not a lot.
Right.
But, you know, they're still out there.
There's
like
always
this.
more.
I've never heard of this, but it's so short. Oh, man. I wish there was more.
Right. I have another short one.
Okay.
In the town of Todos Santos, fear spread among both locals and visitors when the appearance of the devil's footprints materialized on the walls of the mission of Todos Santos, but that's all I could find. And then when I tried looking more into it, it only popped up like a famous story from the UK of the devil's footprints. Yeah.
Wow. That is so short. These are like two sentence horror stories.
More like that. Yeah.
Versión leyendas.
Mm-hmm. But I have a longer one now.
Okay.
So this is the legend of La Ahorcadita.
Okay.
So it is said that a few kilometers west of Todos Santos, in the road that takes you to Canada Honda, La Pastora y Las Playitas, under a tree known as Palo Blanco, the tomb of a young woman named Matilde Martinez can be found. However, there is no name in the tombstone, only the words La Ahorcadita.
That's rude.
Yeah.
What do you mean her name's not there? Just like
says
this.
La Ahorcadita. Or the choked one, the choked girl or woman.
I'm sorry. I do not. First, I want to be cremated, so I'm not going to be like in a tomb, right? But if I were to have a tombstone, I would be so offended. Of course, I would come back and haunt the world if all my tombstone said is the choked one.
Yeah.
No.
So, according to the legend, this took place in the final years of the 18th century and has been passed down orally in the region since then. So, the story is as follows. Matilde lived in a huerta known as La Diabla with her husband. Pause. So, I didn't know what a huerta was. Do you remember me asking her mom in our group message? Oh,
I do now.
It's when I was stuck in the airport in Denver, by the way.
Yeah, cursed. And Denver did not want you to leave.
As I was writing this, I was going through a curse. So huerta, I already forgot what she said, honestly, but it seems like...
Should we search?
No, because it didn't really...
No?
It's like a housing, but like kind of like outside. Like there's a huge like garden and there's just a small shelter.
Like when you go to the park and there's like a covered area to eat?
No. It's more, it's like a residential place, but it's more outside than the residential building. I guess is just small and I don't know. I don't want to say rudimentary, but maybe yes, rudimentary.
This sounds like what would be like a jacal in an hacienda.
Maybe, yes. That's how I pictured it. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's like a shack.
Yeah. Okay, so Matilde lived in a huerta known as La Diabla, and I don't know why it was known that, with her husband, her mother-in-law, and a brother-in-law who was only about 9 years old, and he was a person with Down syndrome. The story I found used an older, outdated term that we won't repeat here.
Right.
Matilde was only 18 and she and her husband were newlyweds. On the day of the tragic event, Matilde's husband was away working at the Carnaverales. I did look that up and I forgot what it was.
Just don't tell us.
Sorry. While Matilde stayed home to tend the garden. Now Matilde was busy sowing and raking and pruning and watering and whatever else, growing pumpkins entails.
Okay, she was like doing it all. Wow.
She's just growing pumpkins, you know. So she was busy working when a friend of hers and her husband's named Astolfo Monteverde walked by. As friends do, Astolfo greeted Matilde, saying, "Que chulas están tus calabazas, Matilde." Or, "Girly, your pumpkins are so cute."
Yeah.
And then he went on his merry way, you know, como si nada, because it was nothing, just a simple compliment.
Right, on her pumpkins.
Right. Not
that
even
she was
on
growing.
her. Yeah. Well, a la suegra no le cayó nada bien, this compliment.
Okay. The mother-in-law didn't like this compliment?
No.
About pumpkins?
Right. The mother-in-law mistook this compliment as flirtation, and she was jealous on behalf of her son. Furious, the mother-in-law yelled, "Eres una coqueta," or "You're a flirt." A Matilde. And in her furious rage, she repeatedly hit Matilde with a metate, which is the, you know, a molcajete?
Yeah.
This thing like this,
the part you crush.
Yes,
the stuff to make the
whatever. Yeah. So that thing.
This is so uncalled for.
Exactly. It's complete overreaction. So yeah, she hit Matilde with a metate until Matilde fell to the ground dead.
Oh my God.
The mother-in-law then tried to cover her tracks by hiding Matilde's body among the shrubbery. A tree had fallen in that area. amongst the shrubbery. So she made it look like this tree fell on Matilde, and that's how Matilde died. And then she left Matilde's body there until the husband got home. So hours passed, and at the end of the day, the husband finally got home. The mother-in-law told her son that Matilde had an accident and died when the tree fell on her. And like your typical mama's boy, he believed every word she said.
I was going to say, this sounds like a boy mom.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Then late into the night, the two hid Matilde's body by wrapping it in leather and dragging it to a mountain.
I'm sorry. If my husband and mother-in-law worked together to hide my fucking body, I'd come back for both of them. Fuck that. Oh my God. That's like adding insult to injury because the mother-in-law already killed her dad. And now the husband is fucking helping her. Like, what the fuck?
I know. It's the audacity, the shamelessness. Once in the mountain, they dragged Matilde's body a few kilometers further until they reached un árbol de palo blanco, or a white bark tree. There, at the árbol de palo blanco, the mother-in-law and husband hung Matilde's body to make the townspeople think that she died by suicide.
Oh my God.
It's like adding on more insult to injury. Like,
yeah, because on top of that, this is also like a sin. You can't.
Right, especially to like a Catholic community. Yeah. 8 days later, Matilde's body was found by a young boy who told the townspeople. The townspeople were both surprised and afraid to hear the news, and then authorities became involved. It was decided by the authorities that it would be best to lay Matilde to rest right then and there at the Árbol de Palo Blanco where her body hung. Soon, the truth of Matilde's death was revealed when her young brother-in-law spilled the beans about his mother killing Matilde. The mother-in-law and husband were sent to Santa Rosalia prison, where the mother-in-law died in a dungeon-like room.
Wow.
She gets. The husband was eventually released from prison after serving his full sentence, and then he was lost to time. Like, no one knows what happened to him. In the years and decades that followed, La Ahorcadita became a fountain of hope for women longing to become mothers, and this is because after her death, it turned out that Matilde was about 4 months pregnant.
Oh my God.
But in order for Matilde to grant a miracle, one must start praying along the main path until they get to Matilde's tomb, and the prayer must be prayed to the child inside Matilde's womb who died at the hands of its own abuelita.
Wow. So she's a good ghost.
Yeah.
Wow. That's surprising. But also, I love this. I'm not like I love that this happened because like leave it to a group of like a Mexican community to turn this horrible death into something miraculous, into a saint. Like,
yeah, it reminds me of the little boy that died, and people bring him toys and stuff in the Panteón de Belén, but people don't pray to him, right? They just bring him toys.
No, because people do give toys to little Nachito. They do in Panteón de Belén, but in Panteón de Belén, there's also a doctor that passed away, and people began to ask him for favors.
Yes, that's right.
For healing, for prayers, and now people pray to him. Like, I know this is like, oh, you're not supposed to do that as a Catholic.
What is the word? Sacrilegious or something like that?
Yeah, like it's wrong.
But it's like, also the most Catholic thing to do.
Yeah, to like, this woman was hanging from a tree, but you know what? I'm gonna pray to her now. Like,
yeah. Well, because she didn't hang herself, you know. Of course, we're not saying that people who die by suicide are sinners, but that's the Catholic belief, right? But yeah, I mean, she was put there, and the truth came out about her death, and so yeah, they like turned this into a positive and revered her, which is cool.
Yeah, I was expecting something different, like, oh, cars drive by and she pops up and people get in car accidents.
And I wouldn't blame her if she did.
Me neither. But the fact that this is what became of her, like, I love it. I absolutely love it.
But you know what I love more is that her name is remembered. So is her friend's name. But the husband and the mother-in-law, they're just the husband and the mother-in-law.
Yeah, they're nameless in this story.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm here for that.
So next we have the legend of El Mechudo. The legend of El Mechudo originated in Baja California Sur on a peninsula north of La Paz, to be exact, that many call El Mechudo or Punta Mechudo. According to legend, around the 19th century, the waters around the peninsula used to be full of pearls, so every year hundreds of divers would go to the area and dive deep into the ocean to search for pearls in hopes of getting rich. Divers back then did not have the technology we have today, so it's said that many would dive into the water with only a stick to to protect themselves from ocean predators. Those that made it back to land would usually be injured and have bloody noses and busted eardrums. Yikes.
Oh.
Eventually, every year, the winds, they would get stronger every year, and they made it dangerous for divers to continue searching. So at the end of each diving season, the divers would get together and dig up their last pearl in honor of the Virgen Maria. But one year, one of the divers missed the end of season tradition and instead decided to dive into the ocean on his own, even though fellow divers warned against it. The selfish diver told his fellow divers that he planned to dig up his final pearl in the name of the devil instead.
What the fuck?
He's like,
so uncalled for.
He's like, La Virgen, screw that. This is for Satanas.
And for what?
And for what? Insane. Exactly. Yeah. Why? Because he was never seen again. He dove into the water and he was never seen again.
Of course.
Yep. So many believe that the devil heard the man's offering and took him instead.
He's like, I don't want your pearl. I want your soul. Please. Don't you know me?
Right?
That's what I want.
Right? So nowadays, locals do not dare to search for pearls near Punta Mechudo because it's said that those who have tried have encountered the ghost of the selfish diver. And those who do encounter the ghost of the diver can expect to encounter a ghost with a huge head of hair, a long beard that looks sad, and is holding a large pearl in his hand that is said to belong to the devil.
Wow.
And overall, many believe the legend was created to teach greedy divers to stay away from the ocean when it becomes dangerous or pay the ultimate price with their lives.
There's nothing like a fun little ghostly cautionary tale to keep people away from a certain area, you know? It just makes it all so much better.
Mm-hmm. So that was Baja California. Well, that was legends from Baja California and Baja California Sur.
Those were fun. I love a fun little local legend, you know? Yeah. I didn't know about any of these, so I'm glad. Yeah, it's always fun to read about other places. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick ad break. And when we're back, we'll get into the true crime part. And we're back. I'm going to be sharing the case of Elizabeth Salgado. She went missing after only being in Provo, Utah for 18 days. And I mean, this is, you know, we'll get into it, but it's a very sad case. Like, I just couldn't believe it. So Elizabeth Salgado was born November 6, 1988, and she was 26 at the time she went missing. She was an aspiring engineer. Both of her parents were also engineers from Chiapas, Mexico. She had just graduated with her bachelor's from Tuxtla Gutierrez Institute of Technology, and her degree was in industrial engineering. After graduating, she spent 2 years as a missionary in Pachuca, Hidalgo, and when she returned from her mission trip, she attended a business leadership course. And this is when she decided that she wanted to learn English to get, you know, better career opportunities. And so she started researching where to attend English school. She was like legit, like actual, like immersion, you know, which was the best way to learn, not like Duolingo, which is honestly just really a game at this point. So she decided after English classes, she was going to move to Ciudad Mexico and then pursue her master's. So you could tell right away, like, she's responsible. She values education deeply. She ended up choosing Provo, Utah to attend the Nomen Global English Language School. And she chose Provo after a lot of research. She learned through this research that it was one of the safest cities in the United States. And she also chose it because her church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormons, it was very active in the area. It is Utah, so. But also she has family in the area. So it was kind of the perfect place for her to go. Her mom describes her as very, very smart, especially with math and physics. Her siblings looked up to her. She was noble, faithful, loving. She was the one kind of setting the example for her younger sisters. She had older brothers, and she was the eldest girl. And more things about her, her mom says she never got angry. She was very patient. She was also just very faithful to her church. And her mom taught Sunday school, and she was very close to her family. When she was away during her mission trip, she was in constant communication with them. She missed them a bunch. And she had just gotten back from this trip when she decided, to go to English school. So, she was very sad to be away from her family again. But her mom reassured her, telling her, like, oh, it's only going to be 8 months. It's not a big deal. We just survived 2 years. Like, we're going to be fine. And that they would see each other when the trip or when the language school was over. And sadly, they never got the chance to see each other again. Elizabeth was in Provo, Utah for less than a month, like I said, 18 days before she went missing. And even in just these 18 days, she was very busy. She joined her local church, like a group in her local church, a youth group type thing, but for like adults.
For the singles?
Yeah. It was like for both men and women, like a young single.
Sometimes they split it up.
Right. They do sometimes. So she joined that group. She had friends, like not close friends, because, you know, she was new to the area, but she made friends. She went to school. She got a part-time job at a restaurant. Her apartment was in the Branberry, an apartment complex that was driving distance, not far from the school, but she didn't have a car, so she walked a lot. So when she first got to the Branberry, she had roommates that she told her family like they were very like there was a language barrier already, but they were also just like not warm and welcoming to her.
Were they like Mormons also?
I don't know. I wonder. I wasn't able to find that in the research. And I also wonder if they were white.
I was just going to ask that. So you don't know.
I don't know about that. I do know that she moved apartment rooms, same complex, but with a group of Korean roommates after. And she liked them so much better. They practiced their English together, even though there was a language barrier.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I'm wondering if they were white. I don't know. But I couldn't find that information.
Sometimes Utah in general there's a lot more like white people there, and they can tend to be racist.
Yeah. And like hashtag not all white people, right?
Of course. But the region, you know?
Yeah. You never know. Right. I know she had, from her own accounts, unwelcoming roommates when she first got there. And then she moved roommates.
Can I share a sort of related story?
Yeah.
Okay. The relation is racist people from Utah.
Utah is the relation. Yes.
Yeah. So my friend lives in Salt Lake City, and even she feels, so she actually ended up living not on purpose but in the Mexican side of town, but she's just surrounded by white people. She said where she used to work, it was her birthday, and I don't know if it was her supervisor or just a coworker, but they, you know how you do at work, they'll give you a birthday card that everyone signs. Anyway, there was like the dog from like Taco Bell on the card.
That is a microaggression.
Yeah. And so she felt weird about it. And she's like, hey, why did you give me this card? And then the person was like, what do you mean? It's because you're Mexican. And she's like, what?
Just straight up.
Yeah. And she's like, you get it? And then she's like, do you get it? Like how I feel? And yeah, that's what happened. And the person didn't understand that it was inappropriate.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there it is. I mean, obviously that's one person's experience, but
right.
I mean, even, you know, as a person who had just arrived, she doesn't speak English fully. She is Mexican. Like
it's like a double.
Yeah. And just the fact she moved roommates, and her own account is that these new roommates were much friendlier, welcoming. So yeah, I don't know. There's something there, right?
Yeah.
So they practiced their English together. She also found Spanish-speaking friends in the same building, and they practiced English together as well. Overall, you can tell she's outgoing. She's friendly.
Oh, yeah. 18 days in, I would have not had one friend.
I've been here for like 7 years and cutting that. No. So she also had several outings with a man from her apartment complex, and she posted about this on Facebook, but she told her family about these outings, like dates, I think, but she never said who this was. She never said a name. And I mentioned this earlier, but she was also a member of the young single adult group, which was called the Ward. And then for some unknown reason, she switched wards from the one she was because they were based on location. These wards, they're very organized, and so it's like if you're in this area of town, you belong to ward 18. Like I'm just making up numbers. So she moved from what was supposed to be her ward to the 140th ward, and this wasn't her official ward. So, and there was never like an explanation for this move.
Interesting. So it's like out of the ordinary for ward groups.
Yeah. And at the 140th ward, her unofficial minister brother was Mackie Smith. He only got to know her a little bit. He mentions that he was supposed to give her a ride to a church event, but he couldn't because he was sick. And that was the last time he spoke to her. And he also, just even him describing like, I couldn't give her a ride, but she was just so nice about it. She was just that kind of person that was just so kind.
Can I add, and this is no way to shade her family, but it's all, I just feel like I need to point it out because it's a thing with high control religions and with Mormonism specifically that I've heard and learned from watching ex-Mormons. Women, girls, they're not allowed to express anger. It's very, very frowned upon. So I just want to throw that out there. Like, being angry is a valid emotion. It's okay to be angry. And it's okay to not be nice all the time. I'm just, I just needed to say that. I couldn't control like the urge to say this. I was like fighting it from earlier on. Even.
I could tell. I was waiting actually.
The guy.
The guy that's about to explode.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
That is very true.
And if you are nice all the time, okay, maybe you're like that, but it's not likely. Like, everyone experiences a wide range of emotions. It's normal. It's normal.
And that's okay. And it's and it's allowed,
or should be allowed for everyone,
right? And so he even said, like, when he said he couldn't give her a ride, she asked if he needed anything, even though she wouldn't have had a way to like take him anything, right? She was still like, what do you need? Like, I'm here for you. And that was the last time we saw her. And he was cleared from any sort of suspicion as well. Because I think anytime you mention anyone's name during news, it's like, yeah, right. But no, he's been cleared fully. And he fully cooperated with investigators, like nothing suspicious at all. So he wasn't able to give her a ride. And this was just a few days before she went missing, this church event that he was supposed to give her a ride to. So on April 16th, 2015, Elizabeth had plans to go to Walmart with her uncle after school. And this was normal. She didn't have a car. So it was like a planned thing that they had where once a week he picked her up and would take her to Walmart for groceries. They were supposed to meet at 5 at her apartment, but when he got there, she was not there. And earlier that day, Elizabeth's sister texted her, I miss you, what are you doing? And Elizabeth had replied, leaving school. And that was it. That was the message. Nothing else, just leaving school. This was at 2:30 p.m. And this was the last time Elizabeth's phone had any sort of activity.
Wow.
The family and her sister, they do believe that this was not her texting, because even if it was a simple answer, like I'm leaving school, her messages were always affectionate.
Oh, okay. Like it would have a heart emoji or something.
Something. And also, like, her sister said, I miss you. What are you doing? So normally she would have replied, I miss you too. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And this message, none of that. Just a straightforward leaving school. So that was already
unlike her.
Yes, very unlike her. So that already kind of raised bells. And so, that was 2:30 p.m. So at 5, when she didn't show up, when her uncle was waiting for her at her apartment, this was raising more alarms. They were like, she should be here by now. This isn't like her to just not do what she was going to do, like to just flake on plans, right? So her uncle decided to go to Walmart because maybe for some reason she walked straight to Walmart instead of the apartment. He walked through all the aisles. She was nowhere to be seen. And then he was like, okay, maybe she picked up a last minute shift at the restaurant. He went over there and asked, but no, she wasn't scheduled to work that day. So she wasn't there either. And he went home after that thinking, okay, maybe Elizabeth just forgot our plans. And maybe she went and did something else with friends. But still, he was like, I don't know.
Like, it's not like her.
Yeah. And so he let her mom know in Chiapas, and they were all like, okay, this is weird. And because none of their messages were being answered either. The last message answered was the leaving school message. So the next day, Friday, the 17th, her mom called her other brother. He is now in California, but he did live in Provo for a long time. So another uncle. And he ended up calling Elizabeth's work and learned that she didn't show up for her scheduled shift. And now they grew even more worried because this is like the most responsible person ever. And so they report her missing after this. And surprisingly, the police get to work right away because
that's good.
She's an adult, and we know the police, sometimes they tend to be like, whatever, an adult's allowed to go missing.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So the police get to work right away. They ping her phone and they get nothing. They also, like, there's no recent cell activity. So, like, it was turned off.
Right. That's going to say, so that means it was turned off or dead.
Yeah, one of the two. They are able to determine that she had been walking her regular route. I don't know. I never know how to say that word.
Right. Neither.
Yeah. So she had been walking the way she normally walks home. And they began talking to anyone and everyone that knew her. So they quickly rule out a creepy classmate who like made advances towards her. They rule out a construction worker from the site that she passed by every single day, who apparently was like trying to get her to quit her job, telling her things like, oh, I'll take care of you.
Do never believe that.
Right.
Can I go on another side tangent about that? No.
Of course.
Okay, do you remember being in Mexico with our tia Erika on the bus? And she told us the story. I don't even know how this came up, but she told us the story of this girl who she wanted her mom to buy her new shoes, but the mom couldn't afford to buy new shoes. She was like a teenager, like a young teenager. And then the girl met this man who promised to buy her new shoes. And so she went off with the first man that offered to buy her new shoes. And now, and she said, ahora la trae embarazada y descalza. So barefoot and pregnant.
I don't remember this, but also why would she tell us this?
I have no idea why she was saying this to us. But just one of those things I remembered.
Yeah, she's like, don't trust the first man to offer you shoes.
I mean, that's the lesson. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, they ruled these two creepy men out. They were just creepy, but there was just nothing there, right?
Just your regular run-of-the-mill creep.
Yes. And so they talked to classmates, teachers. They couldn't find anything. And so just based on like their interviews and the last like phone activity that they gathered, it seems that Elizabeth had began to walk home that day from Nobin Global, her school. So on 400 West is the street the school's on. And she was walking to her apartment at the Branberry. That's 449 West, 720 North.
Not too far, right?
So I looked it up on Google Maps.
Okay.
According to Google.
Navigation.
According to Google, it's a 7-minute drive and a 54-minute walk. Unless like paths have changed since this happened. I listened to a couple of podcasts and they said it was a 30-minute walk.
Oh, interesting.
But looking at it today, it's a 54-minute walk. So I don't know. Either way, kind of a long walk. So police believed she was heading north after leaving Noman Global, possibly passing by West Center Street in Provo and 1200 North. So between University Avenue and West, 500 West Street. And if she had been walking, she would have passed by a construction site. And even though they both have cameras, neither captured her, like they were facing the wrong way or they just weren't working. And it would seem that she would have taken major streets home, lots of traffic, but somehow like no surveillance cameras caught her.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. So then local media starts picking up Elizabeth's case. And 8 days after she went missing, Elizabeth Smart and her father became aware of her case of Elizabeth Salgado. Do you know who Elizabeth Smart is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I thought you would. But for those that don't know who Elizabeth Smart is, she became an advocate after surviving her own kidnapping in 2002, which also took place in Utah, in Salt Lake City. She was 14 years old and she was kidnapped by a man named Brian Mitchell, who her mom had just hired. Like he was like homeless on the street and her mom had hired him to like do some cleaning. Very horrible case. She was captive like months. So for a while she was held outside of in the outskirts of Salt Lake City. Then the kidnapper took her to San Diego. And when it was the kidnapper and his wife or girlfriend, I don't remember which of the two she was. And she, during her captivity was abused in several ways. Horrible ways. But she was found alive on March 12, 2003. And her kidnapping was widely publicized. There's a lot of media covering her story, including a book by the Smart family, documentaries, shows. She has her own foundation where she works to end victimization and exploitation of sexual assault through education, healing, and advocacy. So when she heard about Elizabeth Salgado, who also went missing in Utah, where she went missing from, her and her dad immediately got to work. They were like, we're going to bring attention to this. So they held a press. They held like a...
Yeah, press conference?
Thank you. I was like, what is it called? Why am I blanking on this? They held a press conference with the Salgado family to bring more attention to Elizabeth Salgado. And it worked because then there was a massive search for Elizabeth. They searched along what would have been her route from school to her apartment, but they found nothing. While all this is happening, Elizabeth's parents are stuck in Mexico.
Oh my God.
They can't leave. They're waiting for their visas to be approved. And it wasn't until the Mexican consulate stepped in to make the process move faster. So finally, after 13 long days, her family, so her parents and her brother were able to make it to Provo. And yeah, she had local family, but of course her parents want to be searching too. Like, I just can't imagine feeling so
like unable to do anything.
Yeah. And as soon as they get to Provo, her family, they immediately get to work. They go from door to door. They put up flyers trying to find her. And sadly, the police, they're not getting anywhere. There's just no leads. And they end up investigating her uncles. They end up doing lie detectors on both of them and they don't do well on them. But we know,
yeah, they're not really reliable. They're not even admissible as evidence to court.
Right. And there's a whole wide amount of reasons why someone would fail a lie detector test.
Yeah.
They're just not reliable. Because they failed these lie detector tests, if you look up Elizabeth Salgado, on Reddit, people you'll see a bunch of posts of people like, oh, the uncles are suspicious. The uncles are weird. There was I don't remember who did a documentary on the case. Disappeared, maybe, like, those channels, that forensic channels, Discovery, I don't know, I don't remember. But there was a documentary where, people are interviewed and people are like, oh, her uncles come off as creepy. Like, it has to be them. It has to be them. But they were fully investigated. Bank records, phone records.
Yeah.
They fully cooperated with police. They gave everything. They were and I know that it is common for like the guilty person to participate in searches too, but they were out here helping, searching for her, and they fully cooperated with police. They gave their phone records, every type of evidence. They didn't like decline anything,
And why do people think they're creepy? Like, do you know why? Like, why do people think they're weird?
People just think they give a creepy vibe in the documentary.
But nothing to explain that. Like,
no.
Why? Okay.
No. And that paired with the lie detector tests, people think it was like them. But I don't know.
But there's no evidence right now supporting that.
No, there's no evidence. There's no evidence. And I'm not one to speculate like that.
Oh, yeah, no.
When there's no evidence. So I'm like, leave them alone. They're grieving too. Like,
yeah.
And if they've been cleared, like there's a reason they were cleared. So the investigation into the uncles like slowed down any momentum her case was getting with people donating money, people trying to help search. Like people just stopped doing that when the uncles were investigated, and it was all publicized. So the police was like working with the media, like updating everyone. So it's just, to me, it's sad to see that like mourning family members who also want to help find their niece are still thought of as guilty right now when you look at look this up like on, on Reddit and like, internet sleuths, like, and it's like, it's just unnecessary. Also around this time, one of her uncles received a ransom call and he was fully prepared to give the money, but he did call police on the way to the bank and they traced the call to somewhere in Texas. And so this was just a hoax. They didn't have her. So the case began to grow cold. A year had gone by. Elizabeth's parents decided that they needed to go back to Mexico to be with the other kids. 2 more years went by, and now we're at May 11th, 2018. Someone was hiking in Hobble Creek Trail, and they came across a body. This hiker had gone off trail for a moment to go pee, and that's when they saw remains, and they contacted police. 12 days after this is when these remains were confirmed to be Elizabeth.
Oh my God.
And so now the case is ruled a homicide, and because of where she was found, the case was transferred from the Provo Police Department to the Utah County Sheriff's Office. I did some searching on the location where she was found. From what I read, it's a very, very, very popular hiking trail.
Interesting.
Which kind of like what makes you wonder, why wasn't she found before?
Right. That was my thought right now too.
Yes. And this is also 15 miles from where she was last seen.
Okay.
Quite a ways.
15 or 50?
15, 15.
Oh, okay.
So like to make it there on foot when she didn't have a car.
Right.
It's a little far for that. But if you have a car, yeah, it's not far. So this area is not just used for hiking. It's also like biking, camping, bonfires, and there's a park at the bottom of this canyon. Like there's a park with picnic tables, like a little creek type thing, and then you can climb and hike up the trails after that. So like it's a high traffic area. So it just seems like if she had been there the entire time, she would have been found, maybe even with people, because she was a little off trail. But even with people like this hiker who had to go pee and saw her immediately, like it's strange. So one more thing that just could be a weird coincidence, but kind of makes you wonder as well, is that the church group she belonged to, the ward I mentioned earlier, had an activity at the bottom of the canyon in the park just like 4 days before she went missing. This was, how I mentioned the unofficial minister brother of the ward was supposed to give her a ride to this activity.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he couldn't because he was sick. This is the activity. And it was at the bottom of the creek where she was found. Like,
so she did make it to that, or
well, she went to the church event.
Oh, I thought she didn't make it because you didn't give her a ride.
No, someone gave her a ride. No one knows who.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, but she did go to this church event. And yeah, it was at Creek Canyon at the park there. And so unfortunately, whether she was elsewhere and later moved to Creek Canyon when her remains were found, like none of this is public information. When the Utah County Sheriff Department took over the case, they've been less cooperative with the public than the Provo Police Department was. All they released with the autopsy was that 4 of her teeth were knocked out.
Oh, wow.
Meaning there was probably some sort of trauma inflicted to her face. But that's all they released. They didn't release anything else. For this reason, the Salgado family hired a private investigator, Jason Jensen, to look into Elizabeth Salgado's case. And so he does update the family and the media every once in a while. So he was the one who found out that Elizabeth had attended a church event just 4 days before she went missing, and that this was at the park at the bottom of this Creek Canyon where her body was found. He's the one who made that public.
Oh, okay.
He also shared that, and this might be just like a non-issue thing, but he wanted to like make it public anyway. So in March 2021, he said that his team found a penny right in the middle of where her body was found, and that this penny was sent to a forensics lab by him, and that there was male DNA found. And of course, like it's a penny. I don't know. Anyone could have thrown it there.
Yeah, it could just be there. It can be honestly, probably it's not even related.
Yeah. And but he thinks it is. And then the sheriff's county says, no, we searched this area and the penny was not there. But he thinks it's suspicious that they didn't say anything until he says something, like, you know. So I don't know. I think that's what happens when there's a lot of like
different eyes on the case.
Yes, different eyes, and then like one group withholding information and one group sharing information, right? It's just
sometimes PIs are liars, so
that too,
like fame hungry, whatever, you know.
Yeah, the family fully trusts him, and hopefully he's not shady like other PIs have been known to like make shit up. And
yeah.
So the still grieving family, you know, they don't have answers on what happened to Elizabeth, and then they got terrible news.
Oh, more. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna ask if you could remind me what year it was when her body was found. 2018. Oh, sorry. Okay, 2018. Okay.
2018. Yeah. But so, you know, they're still grieving. They're still searching for answers on what happened to Elizabeth. And then they learn that Elizabeth's aunt, who also lives in the area, Miriam Judith Salgado, went missing in August 2021.
How can this happen to two people in the same family?
And in the same area.
Oh my God, that's too much for a family to handle.
It really is. Her car was found not long after she went missing on Sheep Bridge Road, which is not that far from where Elizabeth was found. About 3 miles south of Creek Canyon is this bridge, Sheep Bridge Road. That's where her car was found, and there were no signs of her. And then on March 3rd, 2023, police responded to a call about human remains in the area of Sheep Bridge. So again, 3 miles south of Hobble Creek Canyon, where Elizabeth was found. And so based on the belongings found on scene, they said, we suspect that this is Miriam. And then a few days later, the autopsy confirmed it was Miriam Salgado. The police did say there was no suspicious circumstances in regards to her death, but that the case was still under investigation. But I mean, like her car being found without her in it and then her found later.
Yeah. Was it years later?
The months.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. A couple years.
I knew it was years because I remember you said.
Thank you. Yeah, I just looked at my notes again.
Yeah, that's strange.
It is very strange, but also like it's two family members, same area.
Yeah.
It's terrible for the family. This case is apparently still under investigation. There's no other news on it. But yeah, another blow to a grieving family.
Yeah.
And they were growing more and more upset with the investigation. They requested that Elizabeth's body be sent to a different lab, who actually reached out to them that they have like they can find more with certain tests or something like that. But also like I mean, at this point, they're probably desperate because the sheriff department isn't sharing any information.
Yeah.
So they want her sent to a different lab, but the Utah County Sheriff's Office refused the request. They cleared her uncles again as suspects in 2022, even though they had already been cleared by the Provo Police Department. So I'm like, I don't know. I guess they wanted
to do their own. investigation.
Redo everything. I don't know. But the family is not happy. They're not being told what's going on. They want her sent somewhere else for more testing. And you know, a lot of times tests are done and then like the sample was so small that like only one test could be run. So it could be that they just don't have more to send. I don't know. But they are more suspicious because the police is more withholding, the sheriff's department. So Jason Jensen, the private investigator, he shared a new lead. There was a coworker of Elizabeth's that came forward, and he says that he thinks his coworker did something, but there's no more information on this, at least like it's not public. Jason Jensen, you know, like I said earlier, he was the one who found out about the church event 4 days earlier before she went missing that was at Hobble Creek Canyon. And he and the family both believe that there's something there, that event has something to do with her going missing.
But this was not the last time she was seen, right?
It wasn't the last time she was seen, but they
believe there's a connection and she was found there.
Right, exactly. He shares that he found out she made plans to return to the park with someone for like a date or something.
Yeah.
But they have been unable to find out who this was. Just that she had these plans. And so that's why they think this event and someone who was at the event possibly has something to do or knows something. They highly suspect her murder has something to do with whoever she was supposed to meet after the church event. But like today, to this day, her and her aunt's case are both unsolved.
Wow.
And Elizabeth was last seen wearing a red shirt, blue jeans, jean jacket, tall boots. She was carrying a book bag with a red strap. She was 26 when she went missing. She had long black hair, brown eyes. She was between 5'4" and 5'5". She would have been last seen walking north from Provo Center Street. Her family, Jason Jensen, and the police are all asking people like if anyone was in the area between West Center Street and 1200 North and saw a young Mexican woman, and they would have seen anything, even if it seemed like nothing at the time. Like, you know, they're urging people to think back and, you know, try and remember anything. If they saw her wave at someone, run into someone, get into a car, anything, even if it seemed normal, to contact the Utah County Sheriff Department at 801-851-4000 or Jason Jensen at 801-759-2248. And I'm going to share these numbers in the show notes. You never know who could have been there.
Yeah.
Who could have seen literally anything. Her family and Jason Jensen, they're both hopeful that either someone who attended the specific church function that she was at Kelly Grove Park will remember anything, or even just someone who was at the park that day. It's a busy park. Someone could have information that is crucial to solving her case. Anyone that took pictures that day or can recall anything about the day, it would have been April 12th, 2015, because it was 4 days before she went missing. So Libertad Salgado, her mom, has been talking to the media, has been very outspoken about her daughter going missing. And she has said that one of the things that has been the most difficult is that her daughter chose Provo because she felt she would be safe there, that she would have been surrounded by members of the same faith, and that she believes that it was a member of someone of that same faith that did this to her daughter. And so she has said the following: "I am not going to surrender. I want to find the killer. I want justice. I want justice. I have been suffering for years, and I will not be content until the police find her killer." And that is the case of Elizabeth Salgado.
Wow.
And it's so, like, I can't say it any better than her own mom said it in her words, but it is truly, truly just so sad that she chose a city because she thought it was safe, because a community would have been there for her in her faith.
Yeah.
And just not even a month, like literally 18 days went by and she was never seen again.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Very. That is the end of my part. So we're going to take a quick ad break and we're back. This is the part where we share spooky recommendations. Do you have any?
Well, I did already mention this book in Historias Unknown, but yes, I recommend Killers of the Flower Moon. I didn't read the regular version because my library only had the version adapted for young readers, but it was still good. It was still very interesting, very eye-opening, just truly horrible, the depths of white people in that time. Truly horrific people, honestly. And we know, right? We know the history we know the genocide and colonization. And just, the book does not shy away from talking about those things and, the role that it had in white people believing they were superior from indigenous people. And yeah, I mean, I just really recommend that book. And I hope to watch the movie one day when I visit my friend who has Apple TV. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any spooky recommendations. I haven't been watching anything new. I decided to finally watch X-Files. So I'm in season 2 now.
Interesting. I never really watched that either.
Yeah, I didn't either, but MJ talked about it so much.
Yeah.
Shout out MJ, we miss you. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm finally gonna watch it. And I love Mulder.
Really,
his actor David. Yes, I know we have different tastes, but I do love him. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm watching. Well, for both of them, they're both great. So I'm watching.
I like the actress.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's amazing.
I think she looks even better now in her years now. I'm like, how is that possible?
Seriously, I wonder the same thing. She's truly, truly gorgeous.
Yeah.
Wow. Awe and awe. Sorry. I'm going to go on a little side note, but have you heard all of the rumors of the show and about them too?
Yes.
When it was filming?
Yeah.
I love that.
I don't even know why that they hate each other, right?
Okay, so no, there was they hated each other, but also apparently, so there's I think it was the MTV Awards or a show. I don't remember what award show that they won. And so there's a part one of them wins. Mm-hmm. Who was it? I think it was him. And then he turns to hug her, and then they make out in the audience. And then he goes to get his award. But it was either in front of her husband or his wife.
Yeah, I think it was her husband, if I'm remembering right.
Yes. It's just so funny that they hated each other, but then they were hooking up, and then now when they talk, they're very close. They're very close friends still.
Oh,
and it's
okay.
just I saw this thread on Twitter that was they had the most ridiculous, most freaky photo shoots. If you look up photo shoots that they've done together, there's one where she's standing on his shoulders, and it just doesn't make sense for the magazines that they're doing these photo shoots. So honestly, I love the drama behind both of them and the show, and so that's why I was I'm gonna watch this more now. I'm actually gonna try and watch it because we love chisme, we love drama, and the chisme between these two and the drama was there. It was popping, and so that was one of my main reasons for wanting to watch the X-Files. So
maybe I'll watch it too.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. I mean, it's creepy topics. And like I said, I love a propaganda show. I'm not gonna lie. I do. Criminal Minds. Same. Yeah. So this is a little better because they're investigating the paranormal.
Right.
And they're both hot. They're both just hot people. So
I'm not saying he's not hot. I'm just saying that he doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
Generally good looking man.
Yeah.
For others.
For others, not for you. For me, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I'm watching it. And it's been great. It's been a great ride. I love it.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying that.
I am. And there's a lot of seasons, so it's going to keep me busy for a while. What's Milo doing?
This can't be comfortable. He's sitting, but he has one arm like this. And he
looks like he's chilling. Just
kind of.
Oh, he's so cute. Okay, well, I guess this is a good place to wrap up. We are finally recording our book club episode next week, so it'll be out the week after that. What else? We'll be recording that. It'll be out next week, probably. We'll announce our new book then, but maybe should we just tell everyone we did pick it?
We did. It was Piñata, right?
Yes. Piñata by Leopold. Sorry,
Leopold
something.
Goat?
Leopold Gout?
Not
Sorry,
Gout.
I did not. It's spelled Gout.
I thought there was an L in there.
Oh, anyway, that's the book, Piñata. There's no missing it. It's not a long book, so maybe we'll get through it faster,
Yeah. I'm going to actually not start it until I finish Love in the Time of Cholera. I need to finish that.
I'm not starting it until we record our book club episode, at least. So, yes, that is the book, though, for anyone that wants to get a head start, right?
You shouldn't because we take so long, but,
No, you should not. Yeah, we'll do whatever you want. And then what else? We should record a Patreon episode, an actual Patreon episode sometime, too. We haven't done that. Our last Patreon thing was our Denver vlog, which is fun if anyone wants to check that out. Yeah. And I'm going to be making stickers. I made 1 or 2 designs already to send out to the Patreon members, but I probably won't send those out until next week, probably. So when this comes out, I'll probably be sending them out. Any new listeners that maybe found us because of my Threads post or, wherever social media, sometimes I try and promote,
Yeah.
So welcome, if you stuck around. I did see someone's message. God, what did they say? Oh, I sent it to you today.
Oh, when this comes out, it'll be last week's episode.
Yes, yeah. They had commented on the Threads post that I made, just kind of introducing us. And we're like, hi, we're the hosts of Spooky Tales, Carmen and Cristina. We're twins. We're from Oakland/Modesto. A very generic post. And then I posted a picture. And a bunch of people found it. And so one person today, she tagged us on Threads and said that what she got out from the episode is that she wants to hang out with Martha everywhere. Like, she's going to take Martha everywhere.
Shout out Martha.
Shout out Martha.
She is super cool. I'm not going to lie.
She was fun. I loved having her on. It was fun. It's very scary stories. So yeah, anyone that found us through Threads in the past, couple weeks, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the episodes. And that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you, everyone. And I don't know, if you're ever in Baja California and you're like on that road, make that voyage out to Ahorcadita?
La Ahorcadita, yes.
Yeah, go see her. She deserves a trip. I want to go see her now.
Pay homage to La Ahorcadita.
Yes. And stay spooky. We'll catch everyone next time.
Bye.
Bye.